to Republican and Democratic lawmakers this week, and you heard some of those talking points during the House Intel Committee's hearing with the acting director of national intelligence. Title of that White House email is What You Need to Know, President Trump's Call with President Zelensky. Here's an excerpt from that email. Myth. The president made a mysterious promise to Zelensky in return for Ukraine reviving an investigation relating to Joe Biden and his son. Well, this is what the committee's ranking member, Devin Nunes, had to say during that hearing.
This operation began with media reports from the prime instigators of the Russia collusion hoax that a whistleblower is claiming President Trump made a nefarious promise to a foreign leader.
Also in that email, there is this. When a high-ranking U.S. government official, like then Vice President Joe Biden, brags that he used his official position to derail an investigation in another country that could have impacted his son, it is appropriate for the president to suggest that the matter be looked into. Once again, here's ranking member Devin Nunes.
Joe Biden bragged that he extorted the Ukrainians into firing a prosecutor who happened to be investigating Biden's own son.
There's another talking point. The real scandal here is that leaks about a secondhand account of the president's confidential phone call with a foreign leader triggered a media frenzy of false accusations. Here's Representative John Ratcliffe of Texas.
In other words, all of this is secondhand information. None of it is firsthand information. The whistleblower then goes on to cite additional sources besides those secondhand information. Those sources happen to include mainstream media.
I just want to point out, in an alternative universe, he could have been the one testifying there at that hearing. There are now 225 House Democrats in favor of impeachment and one independent as well, Justin Amash, who left the Republican Party. But there are still 10 Democratic holdouts: Ben McAdams of Utah, Ron Kind of Wisconsin, Joe Cunningham of South Carolina, Kendra Horn of Oklahoma, Max Rose here of Staten Island in New York, Sochi Torres Small of New York, Jaron Golden of Maine, Jeff Van Drew of New Jersey, Colin Peterson of Minnesota, and Anthony Brinzi of New York. Susan Delpercio, let me turn to you. There are a number of pieces just sort of looking at the messaging machine here, how you have Republicans reading chapter and verse from this playbook that we've seen the president use time and time again. We were talking about this just a moment ago. There are so many Republicans who say, I haven't read the complaint. Right. They're so flummoxed by this, or so disinterested apparently in this, that they haven't read this 5- or 6-page whistleblower complaint.
Yeah, apparently they're not willing to read a 5- or 6-page document, but they're willing to read talking points. Yeah. Maybe because that's all the president is doing, is reading talking points. He doesn't like to read. Maybe they're following his lead. But seriously, I mean, this is a problem that the Republicans are facing because they are so afraid of what they don't know. And it is important when you mention those talking points, and as the White House tries to discredit the whistleblower, let's not forget that President Trump's appointee, Inspector General, validated that whistleblower's complaint by wanting to forward it to the House with a message of urgency. So that complaint has been validated at the very least, if not verified, because we just don't know who he spoke to, that there is legitimacy here, and that legitimacy comes at the behest of this White House, whether they like it or not. So they can do all the talking and razzle-dazzle that they want. The facts are there, and that's what I hope that we see in the Intelligence Committee, is that they pursue the facts and, as Paige said, use it as a guideline, because it really will help present the case much better to the American public.
Adrian, how much is this messaging going forward to be the president alone? How much does he need surrogates? How much does he need those members of the committee to parrot what he's been saying, to use his playbook? There's been a lot written about how effectively the president has used the resonance of this messaging machine that he has, talk radio hosts, Fox News hosts as well. Is it a problem inherently that he's in the lead here, that he's operating alone?
Well, I think he needs surrogates in the sense that he needs reassurance to his base,
and he hasn't
right?
a war room yet, I should say.
Exactly, and we don't know if he's going to have a war room, which is insane, by the way. I mean, communications 101 is you have a war room in these situations when you have a crisis on your hands. I mean, President Clinton had a war room during his impeachment situation. The Trump administration, for them to even consider not having one is kind of crazy. But look, I think if he needs to go back to his base and reassure them and validate them, yes, he needs the Rush Limbaughs. He needs the, Judge Janine on Fox News. He needs members of the Intelligence Committee, which is what we just saw there. But that is at the expense of whatever credibility the GOP in Congress has left. I mean, that was embarrassing just to watch all of those Republican members, essentially look at those talking points and read off of them as opposed to reading the actual transcript, which, by the way, is only a couple pages. I mean, it takes you about 10 minutes to read it. If you really read it in depth, it might take 3 minutes to read it if you speed read it. So it just looks embarrassing for the Republicans. But, you know, again, Trump is trying to reassure his base. He's doing nothing to grow his base, as we all know. And when you contrast that with the very careful approach that Democrats are making here, it's like night and day.
And just a little comms 101.
Yeah.
You also shouldn't give the Democrats your talking points as the Republicans. I'm just saying, like, if you want to come out and sound fresh and, like, know what you're talking about and not necessarily have a reply, don't send them to the Democrats.
And then recall them afterward. Hey, so let me turn to you in just a sec, but let's play a little bit of this video that the president released yesterday. This is sort of Bill Shine-a-Vision. He was the one who pioneered shooting these videos outside the White House. Take a look at what the president posted last night.
What's going on now is the single greatest scam in the history of American politics. The Democrats want to take away your guns. They want to take away your health care. They want to take away your vote. They want to take away your freedom. They want to take away your judges. They want to take away everything. We can never let this happen. We're fighting to drain the swamp, and that's exactly what I'm doing. And you see why we have to do it. Because our country is at stake like never before.